Hello, everybody. Listen, I know you had a lot of problems and a lot of doubts, yes, about text 6, the previous one, because of the marking of tonality and tonicity and all that. I know it was difficult. Besides, it was not an easy text either. So, as some of you requested, I'm, yes, giving you some hints on the next text, which is text number 7. Some things to take into account when marking, yes, tonality and tonicity. First of all, you will notice in the corrections of text 6 that there are different corrections for different people, and what is right in some transcriptions is wrong in other transcriptions. This is because intonation is flexible, and I have corrected what you have marked according to the context that you have taken into account. That is to say, sometimes a tone group that you have marked, the nucleus is correct because in previous tone groups you were consistent marking the nucleus in the same way. And in some other cases there was no consistency, so the change of nucleus is wrong in some of the cases. So you will see that the same word marked as nucleus in one transcription is right and in another transcription is wrong. As I said, this is because each particular case, yes, has its own patterns because of the flexibility of intonation and because of how you have been marking. Yes, this is not only a question of tone group per tone group, yes, taken as individual units, but it has to do with the whole text. Okay, that's why this is so difficult. Something else I wanted to say about text number 6 is the word vibratory. The word vibratory, yes, most of you, well, all of you, marked the TR cluster as a cluster. But if you look the word up in the dictionary, vibratory, that tr is not a cluster. The R is syllabic. When you have a syllabic R in the TR cluster, that syllabic R is in a different syllable, so it's not a cluster anymore, and that means that it does not suffer post-alveolar assimilation, fricative R, and devoiced R. You just mark it like a normal R with the mark of the syllabic consonant. Okay? This is for future reference as well. Alright, so let's go to text 7. Okay, so when you decide to work on text 7, just watch this video so that you have an idea of how, yes, we're going to mark this. First of all, yes, to mark tonality, which is the first thing that you have to mark. Yes, if you want, you can mark sentence stress first, because sentence stress will help you, yes, with the marking of tonality and tonicity, obviously. So you mark sentence stress first. Once you have done that, you start marking tonality. How are you going to mark tonality? Okay, the first thing you do is mark double bars wherever you have a punctuation mark. In general, yes, in general, I would say 99% of the time, and in prose texts like these, whenever you have a punctuation mark, you have a tone group division. This may change in the future when we work with dialogues, for example, but not here, not in phonetics 2. So in phonetics 3, we're going to, yes, see other characteristics, other features. But yes, for now, yes, the first thing you do is you mark. For example, when you have a full stop, obviously you will have a tone group division there. You mark a double bar, and then you go inside the sentence, and here you have a comma, so you mark a double bar here. Then you have a comma here, so you have a tone group division plus pause, double bar here, double bar here, and double bar here. Okay, this is not, sorry, this is not the stress or anything, this is a mistake. Then you have column. Column is also a pause, so you mark a double bar here. Then you have a comma here, double bar, full stop, double bar, comma, double bar, question mark, double bar, any punctuation mark, okay? Then you have a comma here, double bar here, double bar in the comma here, double bar at the end, okay? Great. Now, then the second thing that you do is now you go inside what you have marked. For example, in the first one, if you feel you have to control in order to get something, see that here, this is a very long tone group. How do you know if a tone group is too long or not? Well, if it has more than 5 stresses, that is considered to be long, yes, and so you have to divide it. Sometimes you may have 6 stresses. This is not a watertight rule, okay? You may have 6 stresses and you see that there's no way to divide it, and so you just leave it with the 6 stresses, okay? But in general, yes, more than 5, think of dividing it. Okay, so this one is quite long. We have to divide it. So look for clauses. Yes, look for clauses inside. For example, if you feel you have to control in order to get something, you see? So how do you know that there is a clause inside? Because you will have repetition of subject and verb, subject and verb. You see? Well, in this case, in order to get something, this is an infinitive clause. You don't have the subject, but it tells you where to put the division. Divisions always have to do with syntactic boundaries, okay? Syntactic boundaries. And you always go from the larger syntactic boundary to the smaller syntactic boundary. That is to say, the largest is the sentence, then inside the clause, yes, then inside the clause you may have subject predicate and then phrases, more or less, okay? So as you have marked sentence stress before, yes, normally then you will need one nucleus per tone group. This is obligatory. One of the stressed words that you have marked must be the nucleus. When you underline the nucleus, please underline only the syllable of the nucleus, not the whole word. So be careful, okay? It's not the whole word, it's just one stressed syllable that belongs to a word. So just underline the syllable. Okay, you don't need to put an N or anything, just underlining is enough. Besides underlining the syllable of the nucleus, you also need to stress it, because if not, it is a mistake of stress. So for example, let's do an example. In this one, if you feel, the only stress is feel. So feel will be the nucleus. In the second one, you have to control. You have 2 stresses. The last lexical item is control. So the nucleus is control, but just the syllable, not the whole word, okay? In the following one, in order to get something. Alright, here we have a problem. Well, not a problem, but what will happen is that the word something, when it acts as an object, the direct object, sometimes it is optionally unstressed. So if you do not stress it, you will have the nucleus in get and you just leave something unstressed. This is the most normal way of doing it in this kind of phrase like the one you have here. In some other cases, something as object will be stressed, but not in this case. Yes, you will say in order to get something. You will not say in order to get something. Do you understand? So in this case, I advise you not to stress it. Okay, see that then you have double bar and you have another clause, you'll never get it. Again, you mark sentence stress and you mark the last lexical item will be your nucleus. 90% of the time, the last lexical item is the nucleus, okay? There are very specific situations when you have contrast and new ungiven information, which are rare cases. It's not normal, it's not common, okay? So if you're not going to put the nucleus in the last lexical item, you must have a very special reason not to do it, okay? Alright, then you have, if you try to control a situation through force, that is one tone group, you will never truly control it. Okay? Alright. Because true control is allowance. And here you have 1, 2, 3, 4 stresses, no problem, that is one tone group. Last lexical item allowance, that's the nucleus, not force. Okay? In this case, see that you have not force, both are stressed. Okay? Now you already have a nucleus in force here and here another one. So you may tell me, okay, so this is given information, so we put the nucleus in not. No, not in this case. Because why does he repeat the word force again? Because he wants to emphasize the same meaning. This is what happened in text number 6 as well. You saw that the word thing, for example, was the nucleus, and it was repeated as the nucleus in many tone groups because he was reinforcing the same meaning, the same word. When you're reinforcing that, yes, you choose to put the nucleus in the same word again. Yes, I know, you're saying, how do we know that? How do we know that he is, yes, reinforcing the meaning? Well, because the repetition and repetition and repetition that he does here is because he wants to reinforce that. I know that for now, this is a difficult concept for you. In Phonetics 3, we're going to work a lot more on this, of the reinforcement of the meaning, because it contradicts the new ungiven information law, okay? But for now, yes, in these transcriptions, whenever you have something like this, and you're not sure if it is reinforcement or if it is new ungiven information, you just ask me. Ask me in the forum, okay? Ask me your questions. There's no problem. I can answer questions about stress, about tonality, tonicity, about everything, not only about the transcription of words or about allophones, okay? So just ask me. Remember to post your questions or ask any questions that you need before the weekend, okay? Because I do not open, yes, messages from students on the weekends or on holidays. So, yes, if you want to be answered, yes, you have to respect that. Okay, then you have, okay, remember the analogy that to hold water, your hands must be open. Okay, this is very clear. If you tighten your grip, where does the water go? Okay. So if you keep your hands open in allowance, okay, here you have the same allowance, and you have allowance here. Whenever something is in italics, like in this first allowance here, that is the nucleus, and that is stressed forcibly. No other choice. That is very easy, okay? Alright, so here we have repetition of allowance, and this is again reinforcement, yes, of the same meaning, the meaning of allowance that he is talking about. So you have the nucleus on allowance again. Okay, you have what you desire because you're willing to allow it to exist in its natural state in your hand. Okay. In the last one, because you're willing to allow it to exist in its natural state in your hand. See that this is a very, very long tone group. Okay. I would place a division in exist here because you're willing to allow it to exist in its natural state in your hand. Okay. So there you would have a tone group division as well. This text is not as difficult as the previous one, I think. Okay, if you haven't, so here you have all the tonality already marked for you. Just copy it from here. Yes, you have some nucleuses also marked. Just copy them from here. Mark the rest of the stresses and the allophons and everything, and mark the rests of the nucleuses. If you have any more doubts about the nucleuses, yes, or something that I didn't say here or I didn't explain and you need to know, you just ask me in the forum. Okay, that's all then. I hope this helps, okay? See you in another video. Okay, goodbye.